Hello, making a video on the couch with my baby, and it is nice and cozy, and the sun is just about to descend down behind the horizon almost, and I want to utilize the last rays of sunlight before the sun goes down, but in reality the sun does not go down. The earth rotates around its own axis and also around the sun. It takes a year, just in case people didn't know this yet. So, yes, that brings me to the very subject I wanted to talk about. There's this word Ketzer in German, which means heretic. And I've been watching a lot of documentary films on the Middle Ages. And I also, throughout the years, I've been studying this, and I studied Galileo Galilei, who lived, when did he live? Lived around 1500 something, and the Roman Catholic Church back then in charge, that was before they had, I think that was before they had the Medici popes, because the Medici popes, they were progressive, they were pro-science, and they were really awesome. But I think I don't know if it's before the Medici popes or after the Medici popes were assassinated by mobs that were sent out by Martin Luther. That's all terrorism. It's really terrible what Martin Luther did. So because he got so upset, and he felt like his foundation was shaken by those Medici popes. And here the Medici popes, they were the progressive ones actually. They were actually fading things towards progress, towards science. They had amazing scientific instruments at the Vatican, and still do. Still, I think you can visit these places, those study rooms, and where the sun shines in a specific angle, and they have this gigantic clock on the ground made out of masonry and stones and stuff like this, and all handcrafted, because they didn't have anything else. So it was just all piece of art. It was the entire structure was a piece of art. Is a monument, and amazing craftsmanship and artistry, and really wonderful. People really, you can see how they put all of their love in it, and their joy and their creativity, and that always goes beyond concepts and ideas. That's always beyond that. That's always tuned into the infinite. Most people don't have a clue on what the infinite actually is. So the infinite, is endless. There is no beginning and no end to it. And people fight me on this on Facebook and YouTube, and I say, well, if there was a beginning, what was before that beginning, right? If you really are intellectually honest with yourself, you have to ask the question, what was before the beginning? Because before any beginning was something else. So there was no ultimate beginning. There is no such thing as all or everything. It's illogical. It is just logical that there's just endlessness in all directions, into the past and into the future, and in terms of space and matter. So it's just infinite. And I think it is beautiful, and it makes us feel rather insignificant. It makes our egos feel a little bit shattered, like, we're just an incident within the realm of infinity. Humanity is just a mere mistake that happened. Maybe not a mistake, but it was a learning process. And unfortunately, they probably never get to learn from their mistakes. That's what I'm worried about. But all of this ties into religion. All of this ties in. Galileo Galilei, for example, worked for the Medicis in their home in Florence, Italy, and they always had the most amazing, the most advanced brains working for them and being their children's tutors. So they were one of the most influential and rich families in Italy. And I think there was one other family, and there was always some kind of conspiracies against each other, and some kind of rivalry going on between these two families. But the Medicis, they have become super famous because they have embraced science and art. And they had amazing summer fests and festivities going on with theater plays, and that was long before William Shakespeare. They had the most amazing Greek theater plays happening, and famous writers coming to narrate their stories, and it was very rich also mentally, very rich for the eye, rich for the senses. And it made a lot of people jealous, of course. And then there are a couple of clergy people that were very jealous of this, and they were so jealous not just of their wealth but also of their mental freedom, which then made them hate them and made them laugh about them when they got sick, whenever they got sick or something. It's always this thing, when someone is brilliant and suddenly they make a mistake, or they get sick, then they go, ha ha, see? Hee, gotcha. You're sick too, I knew it. And that brilliant person never claimed to be a god or goddess, never claimed such thing. They just were. They just flourished. They just existed. They didn't do this to impress anyone. They did this for the love of art. Okay. But people will be jealous, and as soon as they get sick or make a mistake, they will say, see, or the meat eaters will say to the vegans, see, I knew it. You're getting sick too. You're uh, why should I become vegan if you're not even doing so well? Or, well, we are not gods, okay? And the living existence, the animalistic existence, is a school. It's a learning process. Becoming vegan and holistic and taking charge of your own lives means that you are your own scientist and your own scientific test object, okay? So, which is the most honest way to go about it, and not use someone else who does not want to be your test object, namely the rats and larger mammals. And I don't even want to say it. It's so horrible. It's so horrible what's happening. People, open your eyes to it and say no to it and sign my petition. I will put the link under the video. Sign my petition. I have an ongoing petition on Care2. I will do this until the day I die. I will have this going until we have personhood rights for animals. Okay? And well, I'm realistic, and I don't know. We might never get it, but I'm hoping for it. I do it anyway because it's important. And even if I die and they have not achieved this yet, I will continue to petition. So I made this my mission. Okay, this is now my main petition that I'm running: personhood rights for animals, and also outlaw active sonar. That goes all together. It's very, very important. We have satellite technology. We don't need active sonar anymore. This is just a market perpetuation, and someone is cashing in the cost of the animals. Okay, this has nothing to do with military safety or with population safety or anything. This is just money making and destroying animals, destroying whales' lungs and eardrums, and they die horribly. And I want people to know this, okay, and stand up against this. So all of this ties in with one another. Anyway, the Galileo Galilei, the great scholar, he discovered, and he always looked, they already had primitive instruments with which they could look into the stars, but they couldn't see very far, not like as far as they can see today with those amazing mega telescopes. They had little telescopes, and they were handmade. All of this was handmade, even the glass and all of this, but it was much better than just the bare eye. And he was the first one to discover that the sun is our center of this particular solar system. Is the sun rotates too, I think, but the sun is the center. The sun doesn't rotate around the other stars or planets. It is all the other stars, moons, and planets that are rotating around the sun. And we are in the so-called Goldilocks zone, which is the zone where we get just enough warmth from the sun that sustains life like this amino acid, water-based life, carbon-based life forms. So, and like Papa Dog and myself. And there are other planets that also are in Goldilocks zones, but that's another subject. So Mars could, it's very hostile, but it could. Yeah, I'm in the house. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And so, but because the religion was seeing everything out of a centered, human-centered way, they think that their God looks like a human, and all of these things. They don't understand that they created that God, in their image, and they don't understand any of this. So, and they don't understand that humans are not the center of the universe, that humans are just a speck in the periphery, and time-wise, it's just a fleeting moment, okay, of existence, of learning existence. There are many, many, many other galaxies, infinitely many, and therefore there are also, which is just logic, conclusion, there are other life forms out there who are also going through their learning experiences, and so on and so on and so on, and maybe they look like us and some don't, and some are in between, and some are very different, and some are like worms, and like those worms that shoot out a ball, and those kind of things are all out there. We already got weird stuff here on this planet. People don't even know about this, because they don't study biology or any of these things. They limit themselves with the people that are that are forced to read the Quran all the time, that they are not allowed to get into science. Ever since the Muslim religion has evolved, people in the Middle East stopped learning, and their entire culture collapsed because of this, because they were no longer competitive with information and learning and progress because of religion. And then people tell me, oh, it's not the fault of religion. Hello, look at it. So look at what religion has done to people's brains and to the planet. Look at it. Be honest about it. Intellectual honesty, it has done horrors. And because of religion, the Vatican, the ones that are before or after the Medici popes, during the Middle Ages, during also early Middle Ages, and during the 1500s also, they had that Galileo Galilei arrested. They had him brought to a prison, to a dungeon at the Vatican. They had a real disgusting image of Mother Mary hanging on the wall, and he was horrified about that. Like a like some guilt-tripping type of life-denying facial expression in that woman. And I don't know who painted that, but I'm sure some kind of pious, real, mean, life-denying person who's just full of fear. And that's what religion causes. It causes people to be full of fear. And they actually had to, they gave an option. You either retract what you discovered and you go along with the Vatican's view of the world, or we're gonna execute you. And they probably threatened something really horrible, some real terrible torture or something. And so he had no choice other than to retract it, but they would not release him anymore into freedom. They kept him there, and that's probably the worst torture there is, for him to have to suffer in that dungeon, for what? For being a brilliant mind, That's what religion has done. And I watched all these documentaries on witches and stuff like this. And that's what I wanted to discuss. What is a witch, actually? So I learned a lot about this, and I have a lot of insights also about it. I have watched this since I'm a child. We have had witch fairy tales, and some of them had the witches depicted as good and kind. Also some fairy tale films where they were depicted as kind, which is very progressive. That was during the 60s and 70s when we were children, and they were already progressive. But go 100 years back, and in Europe, and they were not depicted as good. And terrible fairy tales have been told to children, innocent children who come to this world, and they don't know anything. They think whatever the adults say is true, and they have been made fearful of the so-called witches. In German, the name is Hexe, and the word sex is sort of related to that. So Hexe and sex, that's kind of like, something forbidden, And there is the religion again with its anti-life, anti-flowing, anti-art, It's always this with this resistance. It's almost like a resistance to life itself. That's what religion is. Who is a witch, and who was a witch during the Middle Ages? I tell you who was a witch. The woman with the real mega high IQ. Because she said, like, what the F. Okay, that's what she said. What the F. In the Middle Ages, but, in different words, of course. not like today, but she was like, what the F is going on here? How is this? How? Like, how can people live like this? I cannot imagine living like this, continuing my life like this, with this oppression, with these terrible clothes that are uncomfortable, women having to wear these long dresses, kind of like the Amish people today, with corsets underneath, and they have to tie their fat in, and they have to wear these wooden shoes, and they have to uh, have long hair and tie it up and put like weird hoodies on with strings and aprons and ridiculous stuff, and they have to obey certain rules, like they have to be obedient to men, and they can't, the women are not allowed to learn anything in science, and that would be regarded as heresy. And those are, for example, words that I do not have in my vocabulary. I'm just recalling these words in form of a as a historic shedding light on it, on the words. Those words are in a museum and in my worldview. I'm just pulling them out so that we can shine the light on it and investigate them, those words. Because those words do not belong into our language, okay? There's no such thing as that. And there's also no such thing as a witch. Okay, those are all words like heretic, Ketzer, witch, and so on. Yeah. And all of these these religious words that some fanatic religious people still use to this day, and I find that so dangerous. That can escalate any time again, back and roll its way back 300 years back. That wasn't very long time ago, compared to human evolution. That was like yesterday, if you look at the vaster scale. So this has not been worked out yet in some people, and very few people, but not in the majority of people, not in the crude everyday brutes. Okay, they are, because I look at the internet, though the majority of people would still go to a marketplace and watch someone have their head chopped off and be knitting and eating cookies while they're watching. So come on, be honest with yourselves. How many horror movies are out there? I don't even want to talk about what else is out there. I don't even want to get into this right now. Then I start crying, and I start to get really upset. There's so much terror. There is so much horror going on, and I see how the people react to it. They they actually they kind of they I don't even want to say it, because it is so negative. So they are drawn to this, to say it in the most euphemistic way. And that is how the people were during the Middle Ages, of course, and have been for thousands of years. And Jiddu Krishnamurti is trying to dive deep into the actual causality of this, and the questions on how can we transform this? How can we transcend this negativity? Yeah. And not so much the word how, but ge- he's getting into explaining that through meditation that we could, if we wanted to, we could transcend this. But I am not so sure of people's brains are able to do it, if people are able to want this, if they're not too addicted to their ego and to their petty little powers, power hunger, and all of this. I've talked to so many people. I've seen a lot. I feel sorry for them. I don't know what else to say. I want to help. I want to inspire people to become kind-hearted and good. It's the very people who are super religious who will call me, and this is so much double standard, they will call me devil, and in the next sentence they say, so you think you're holier than thou. You see this? Do you see the contradiction in this already? So, what's going on? I'm on one side, I'm holier than thou in their eyes. I'm a saint, I'm some kind of savior. Someone even told me I'm a savior. Someone told me I'm the savior of the world. I said, I wasn't sure where this statement was coming from, actually. Someone from Pakistan. I don't know what the motive for that statement was, whether that was meant as a sarcastic statement or meant as a trick, to trick me into something, or to manipulate me, or I don't know what it is for. I doubt that it was meant in the real sense. And there is no such thing as one person being a savior. I cannot be a savior if you are not willing to listen. How can I be a savior? I'm the captain of my own jacuzzi. That's what I am. I have my Yodel diploma. So, no, that's not gonna work. I gotta sit up. So, anyway, there's so much contradiction going on, in the way people talk to me in this. Light is better from here. It's getting kind of dark now, and my hair looks very monkish. So anyway, there's so much contradiction going on, and I don't want to edit my videos anymore. Yes, Pavada, yes. So much contradiction going on sometimes in one sentence. And that shows the contradiction in the mind. There is no clear statement anymore even. There is no more, there is not even a logistic train of thought in anyone's worldview anymore at all. And particularly not in religious views. So it just contradicts itself non-stop. And that alone should be a red flag for everyone. So if a minister says to a vegan, you think you're holier than thou, and then backstabs her, talking about her in the locker room, and saying, boy, I want to fuck her, but she is sure a devil. What a terrible Satan witch. And then he says, and then in the next sentence, she thinks she's holier than thou. She thinks she's so good, and she's so kind-hearted, and so kind-hearted. And she never said she's kind-hearted. She never even talked about it. She was talking about helping, making things better. But to them, it's like they think because they don't want to help, they just want to boast themselves being I am this mega guru or minister, and I want to eat meat, and I want to eat drink and alcohol, and I want to take. I don't want to listen to that lady, and I don't want to give anything to anyone, kindness or help. Who is she to force her values on me? So you see, the kind people, they are being demonized. At the same time, they say you think you're better than anyone else. So obviously they do know that these people are better because they're helping, which is better, isn't it? It's better, right? To be someone who helps. But it is twisted. They twist it in their minds. And then when everyone else is also on that bandwagon of total suppression and maybe psychopathy, then how can anyone point out and say, wait a minute, you're wrong, minister. That lady is the kind-hearted person. She's helping. And no one says that because they're all on the take. They're all on the same brainwash and same taking and same corruption bandwagon. So each one is taking some breadcrumb along the path of this corruption stream. You see? So no one wants to acknowledge that what the lady says, that the lady who helps, or a man or whoever these people are, environmentalists, people who are not conformists, people who live according to their own ethics, and that is regarded as bad because by the corrupt community, because the corrupt community doesn't want to inconvenience themselves. But at the same time, they will twist it around and they will point the finger at the people who help and say, they're the ones who are wrong. Do you see it? Do you see what I'm talking about? We see it all the time. We see it everywhere. We see it in politics, in every organization. We see it in every group, in every subgroup. We see it in every society in the whole world, around the whole globe. We see it everywhere. This stuff is going on all the time. Pay attention to it, and maybe you see it in yourselves. And this is where we start. We start with ourselves. I do it every day. I investigate myself every single day, my motives, my needs, my hormonal needs. I'm getting a very good picture on what it's like, and where ego comes in, where the hormones come in, and then I can see in other people when they deny certain things, when they are in denial of facts, of truth, how this denial then spins itself into a corruption within their own brains, and then it docks onto the corruption of someone else, and then it creates a network of corruption in society. That's what I want to end this cycle. I want to stop it. I stop it within myself. Okay, I say, I see what I'm doing. I have hormones. I'm making selfies. I want to be liked. I want to be wanted. I wish I could find a billionaire husband so that I don't have to struggle with things anymore, with water that's blue. I don't know if that is very good to have drinking water that is blue, to tell you the truth. We filter it, but it's still blue. So, and I don't know. I thought it was from the roof, but I think it's from the pipes. The pipes have some. This house is a making of corrupt people. Really, really, really corrupt people. The architect was not corrupt, but the contractor. He skipped and he skipped costs, and he just got the cheapest materials he could get, and he saved on the outside facade. Now it leaks in, and the wind brings rain and such. All of these things, and who knows what the pipes are made out of. Sometimes I have a brain fog. I have to, when I write something, I have to read it 10 times again aloud, and whoever spies on me will see my OCD tics and my rereading the sentences, because I've made the mistakes already in the past where I wasn't careful. I wasn't rereading it and revising and editing it. And I posted things, and then people would jump right at my face about, you made a mistake. Someone else would never be confronted like this, but I do, because they already have a problem with me and with my statement that I made. So they are to get even with me. They have to jump at my face at the mistakes I have made. And yeah, and I have left an entire sentence out and hadn't edited it out, and that was a couple years ago, and then I reread it, and either someone else has hacked into it and edited this in a bad way, or I had just not been careful. I didn't reread it. So anyway, yeah, it sounded ridiculous, and I said, yeah, this is really ridiculous and embarrassing. Sorry, but thank you for telling me. I repaired the situation by adding another comment that was correct. But ever since then, I'm very careful on how I word myself, and I reread it 10 times or even more, and I don't want any mistake to be in it, because if I am not like God-like sort of to people, then they come at me. Oh my gosh, I'm not allowed to have any typo in my stuff or anything weird or wrong in it. It has to be godlike and perfect. So, or they will get even with me for this. Everyone else is allowed to make mistakes, but not the people who are bringing the message of love to the world. They have to be godlike. And that's also what Teal Swan talked about, Like, she has fans. Some of them came to live with her, and then when they saw her being a living being with hormones and with needs and all of this, like everyone else, then they got mad at her, and then they came at her, and then the ego came out. The ego raised its head and said, "Ha, I saw a mistake in her." I just hit my nose with. I saw a mistake in her, and now I have to come at her with that. Now I have to hold that mistake against her. That's what the ego does. Instead of seeing the person as a messenger, as another living being, like they are, but a messenger, someone who gets it, someone who understood what it is, what's going on. Instead of and instead of getting mad at them for being flawed, for making mistakes, and for stuttering or whatever, they can just say, yeah, this is a human being, this is a living being. We all say something wrong sometimes. Don't we don't speak correctly, we don't articulate it always 100%, but the message is what's important. She has some ideas, let's listen to her instead. So there are a lot of messengers out there like myself, and we're all living beings. I'm just an indigo. I am still I'm still evolving, I'm still learning, I'm still on my own path, right? But I see a lot of things, and I think it's worth it to make videos about it and to bring this across to other people, so we can avoid an inquisition where witches, where someone, where anyone can be labeled a witch, and that person is gonna be, I don't even want to say it, what they did. You will see if you watch the documentary film. Please watch it. Don't look away, okay? Don't hold the other cheek. Look what your religion has done to people. Look at it. Take a look at it. They're not better today. Look at the people. It's the people who watch horror movies. I bet you that there are even less atheists among those, or agnostics, or spiritual people, or people who are kind-hearted and want to help the world. So there are even less non-religious people among those who watch horror movies. It's the very religious people who are bloodthirsty. That guy who said he's in the Marines, he told me that he believes that bloodshed is good, and he's really religious. So that's what the Muslims seem to believe, and that's what the Christians seem to believe, and some other violent religious people around the world. So the ones who are not religious do not believe that. They do not believe in violence. Atheists do not believe in violence. Yeah. Look at it. Okay? Take a look at it. No, we do not say we're holier than thou. Okay? No. I didn't. I'm a living being. Okay? I make mistakes. I eat, I masturbate, I I crave candy, and I want a rich husband, a multi-billionaire. Jeff Bezos would be great. So yeah, that is not perfect. But I'm still a messenger. I'm still giving a message across to the world. And I can be fed and tell you, you need to trim yourself down. You need to exercise every day. Yeah? You should get yourself a nice treadmill, or my husband got himself a desk based exercise machine, like a bicycle type of thing, where he can put his computer on it. I think this is one more item that's gonna be taking up space pretty soon, and I'm against it for that reason. But yeah, if he's using it, I'm all for it. He's already skinny, but yeah, that helps him to be circulated. That helps his health. So I can tell all of you to do this. Do something. The best is hiking on fresh air. Even if I'm not doing it and I am all fat and blubbery. I can still tell you that. I'm a messenger. It's just a phone. So we don't have to be the ultimate role models like Tony Robbins to be giving other people good advice. Just because I crave candy and I have some flaws, that doesn't mean that when I tell you to go vegan and eat mainly raw plants, organic, and the best is self-grown, that doesn't mean that all of this can be discarded. Does this make any sense? I hope it does. I think it's the complacency and the ego in people that is very quick to say, oh no, look at her, she makes mistakes, therefore I don't need to listen to her. That's bullshit, that attitude. It really is bullshit. You're just bullshitting yourselves. You're not bullshitting me. So we see religion as bad, is horrible, okay, what it does. But people take offense to where they They want to hurt my feelings. They want to hit me, actually, if they could. Even one woman, when I spoke out against Islam and burqas, and one woman got so mad at me on Facebook that she tried to be as mean as she possibly could verbally. And if she saw me in person, I think she would come at me and she would try to scratch my face or something. Don't do it. I'm bigger than you. So, and I have a Medusa in me, okay? And you don't want that Medusa to come out. Seriously, no, you do not. That's not a good idea. So I've been attacked once in a bar by a woman, and like a short little yapping woman. I don't know what she wanted, but she came at me again and again and again, tried to scratch my face. And I was like, at some point, I was like, I've had it with her. I took her by her collar, like sweater or jacket, and I just lifted her up with one hand and shook her a little bit and let go. And that was it. She never bothered me again after that. So, yeah, it's good to be big and strong. It really helps, and it's good to have a Medusa inside of you. But yeah, for anyone who's not big and strong, I recommend to you to not give in to religion and not give in to violence and not go in any violent direction. Then that way you will not be lifted up with one arm, okay, by your turtleneck. So that way you radiate out kindness, you give kindness, you will receive kindness back. That's how it works. And that's all we can do. If we don't receive kindness anyway, then at least it wasn't our fault. So each person has the responsibility to be the one that says, peace starts with me. I'm starting peace right now. I'm giving peace. And I cannot expect stuff from other people to come for my whatever, for my ego serving. I cannot expect that anymore. I have to go within myself. I have to clean up within myself. Right? And that's an ongoing process. And if you fail, don't beat yourself up. Go back on track. Just do it. Just keep going back on track and say, I made a mistake. It's not a big deal. You can cry. If it was a bad thing, you can cry over it. And then you go back on track and you say, I'm sorry, every night before you go to bed. Not to Jesus, but to the people and beings and animals who you have done injustice to. Okay? You say it to them, even if they're no longer there. Even if they're no longer in the physical, you say it. You say, I'm sorry, I made a terrible mistake. Whatever it was, whether you were drinking and you abandoned your children and animals, or you didn't come home for 2 days, or what you were wasted, or whatever, or much worse things. Whatever you did, or whoever you wronged, make it better. Make your life better. Be good and don't make the same mistakes again. Learn from this. Don't drink anymore, okay? Don't be vengeful anymore. Don't take revenge on someone. Don't use religion to throw a rock at someone or suppress someone. Don't do it anymore. Give peace and love and say sorry to the ones who you have wronged every day, every night, and cry. That is the path to purification. That's what I do. I've been real stupid in the past. Really, really stupid before age 25. That's also when the brain is still in the learning process and I was drinking alcohol and smoking and taking drugs. Yeah. It was chaos. My life was chaos. Later on, I remember all these things. They don't go away. And they shouldn't go away. If we suppress them and make them go away, we don't learn. Then we continue on the same destructive path. We have to look at it. We have to recognize, oh, this is painful what I did there. Painful for me to feel right now what I did there or what I said to that or that person. And the people I hurt because of my own ego and all of this. We want to learn from it. It's a learning process that never, ever, ever ends. We die, and we can, if we say sorry, and if we can dissolve our ego by the time we are ready to exit our spacesuit that we're carrying, that is carrying us right now, our vessel, then we have made it forward, a step further. We have dissolved that ego process, that resistance energy. Then we have dissolved it. Most people, they die without resolving it, and then their ego energy goes back into the stream of sorrow, and they all eventually come back as probably as this, in the same shape and existence and spacesuit of the being that they have wronged in their life. So the Dalai Lama is going to come back as a dog on the streets in India. So as a straying dog who is trying to get food from people. An abandoned dog, like so many abandoned dogs in India on the streets. And Sri Krishnamurti said that the dog on the streets in India, because he is also from India originally, and he's been to India many times to teach there. He said those dogs on the streets in India, they suffer just as much as the poor people. They have just as many needs, and they need just as much love from everyone. So if a Buddhist is so arrogant and doesn't understand this, and there are many, then they're going to have to be reborn as a stray dog in India. It's just as simple as that. So, or, whatever, or whoever killed that JonBenét Ramsey, they're going to come back in that same gender, same shape, same situation as their victim, because they have to learn. They need to learn from it. And that's why I say dissolve it now, so that you don't have to be reborn into that what you don't or didn't understand in your last lifetime, what you had absolutely no connection to mentally. You had no understanding of it. The men who throw rocks at women because they were driving a car in the Middle East, in Iraq, they're all going to be coming back as women. They're all going to repeat that same cycle again to learn. But do you see what a slow moving process that is? It drags itself on in that cycle of samsara. That's what the Buddhists call it. It's a never-ending cycle of sankharas that people developed onto themselves. Bad karma, the sankharas, the loads of bad behavior that they in turn then have to be put in a situation where they see it from another angle, where they see it from the other perspective. But we can do this all now in this lifetime and just be willing to look at. But it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to say, whew, I see. This is my ego. I want to instantly not do. Instantly turn around. U-turn. It's like what Jiddu Krishnamurti said. You see a bus coming towards you. You step out of the way. And that's the same with the ego. You do a U-turn. You say, no longer. I am no longer willing to let my ego ride my actions. Okay? So you guys take care. Peace.